Welcome to episode 149 of Timm Talk, the podcast about the DC animated universe, co-created by Bruce Timm. I'm Chris Lord.
I'm Cameron Dexter.
And this week, we're continuing our journey into Static Shock Season 3 with a couple pretty fantastic episodes here, Static in Africa and Shebang.
Oh, man, I think Static in Africa is like as close to a perfect superhero episode you can ever get.
I mostly agree with that.
That was such an amazing experience to rewatch that again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I think I probably saw that when it originally aired. I really enjoyed rewatching that one. Definitely more so than I did Shebang.
Shebang is good. It's definitely setting up better episodes.
I bet, yeah. I mean, as you do with some of these returning characters. But before we get to those, some notes from friends and all the usual goodies, we'll start off with news. Whatever random bits of news we can scrape together during the continued entertainment industry lockdown.
Yes, we have a rake combing through the sand, just trying to find those little mussels of news.
Cameron's out there just sifting through the river, hoping to find a glint of gold.
Yep. And we did. We did get some gold this week.
Oh, we did. I mean, the thing that I kind of love is that because there's no real news happening, like there's not a lot of big announcements, it's a lot of just like rumors or random little things that would not matter at all of a sudden become big stories,
right?
Doing the ongoing saga, of course, of the New Mutants.
This movie is having such an insane like life trajectory.
Yeah.
How about you go into the story a little bit?
Yeah, so I guess the little bit of background there is that this movie was made in 2015 or 2016.
It was supposed to come out in 2017.
Okay, it was supposed to release in 2017. I think we got our first trailer either early 2017 or late 2016.
Yeah.
It then was supposed to go through reshoots. Those seemingly didn't happen before Fox was then bought out by Disney, in which case it got shelved. It was supposed to finally get released right around this time, actually. Like I think we're closing in on its release date. I can't remember what it was. I think sometime in May. And then of course with the COVID lockdown, it got pulled from the theatrical release schedule. So that everyone's been speculating if it's just going to get put up on VOD somewhere because of all of like the candidates for a theatrical film coming out of Disney. This seems like a likely choice.
Yeah, because we also know that they're dropping Artemis Fowl, which is going through a similar production hell, or went through a similar production hell. Was all supposed to come out in 2017, has been pushed 3 years, and Disney's finally just like, wipe my hands with this. This is no longer our problem.
I mean, it looks terrible.
Yes.
I also do love a movie that sets itself up for bad review puns. Like with Artemis Fowl, you just swap out the homonym for the other form of fowl and your headline's done.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's going to be
Artemis Fowl
up there on Rotten Tomatoes. Artemis Fowl.
Artemis Fowl's foul.
Yep. Artemis Fowl Ball. Oh.
No,
I'm going with it. I like it. I know sports.
You know sports. There was one pun. There was one pun in this episode that I really, really enjoyed. And I'm excited to get to it.
Oh yeah, I was very happy to see the puns come out. You know me.
In full force.
Full.
Oh man, I don't want to.
It's a new superpower.
I don't want to jump in too early, but man, the writing of Static in Africa is just so good.
Well, it's a Joy McDuffie episode.
Yeah,
that's why. So New Mutants was then rumored to go up on Amazon. I guess it was Amazon UK had like a pre-buy option.
The banner popped up.
Yes, people like, oh, I guess it's going up on demand. It's subsequently been taken down, and now the latest rumor, I believe, is that it's still going to get a theatrical release.
Yes, according to a Hollywood Reporter, as of yesterday, New Mutants is still scheduled for a theatrical release for an unknown date. Oh my God, this movie! I mean,
like, the thing that I wonder is, ultimately, is this going to make the movie not whatever version it ultimately gets released, whether it's theatrical or on demand, but just the long runway of this and the fact that it's basically become an industry joke, is that going to help it in the long run or hurt it, do you think?
Like, help it significantly. I remember when they announced like the hard date of April 3rd.
Yeah.
Of when we were supposed to get it last month, and how excited we were to finally see this movie.
Which is probably going to be fine.
Oh, the movie. I'm expecting subpar. I'm going in at like a 4 out of 10 idea.
Yeah, like you and I aren't big horror people. It's definitely going for like the first superhero horror film. I don't really care that much. I love X-Men in general. I love mutants in general.
I really enjoy this cast too.
Yeah, it's a great cast. I mean,
Maisie Williams, Anna Taylor-Joy.
What's so funny is like Maisie Williams looks so much younger in this.
Oh my God,
obviously,
yeah.
like she went through like a pretty substantial growth spurt between
Yeah, so
2015 and now.
I'm on their wiki. They started filming in 2015.
Look, I am excited for it. I think probably because it's just been such a ridiculously long journey. Like whenever it comes out, you and I will get down there immediately to go see it and do an episode on it.
Oh, here's my favorite sentence of their wiki. Boone, the director, has said the original planned trilogy is unlikely to happen now.
No kidding. No shit. I mean,
who knows what the world will be like in 2032 when there's a rumor of a second film coming out.
Right? I mean, like, to its credit, some of the stills that have come out look cool. Like, I think they put out a shot recently of the villain. I think it's like Demon Bear.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, which like looks good, and some of the shots of Magic with her full on like magic sword look fucking dope.
Yeah, and like these are good characters. Like these are characters that I'm really excited to see. Cannonball was one of my favorite comic book characters. And when I like first started reading New Mutants, Sunspot and Mirage are great.
Yeah, so it'll probably end up being fine.
Yeah.
But I imagine this is not the last time we're going to talk about the New Mutants release as a piece of news.
Oh man.
But okay, some other stuff that happened. We are officially getting a Taika Waititi Star Wars film. We don't really know anything else about it, other than he's going to co-write it with Krysty Wilson Cairns, who was one of the screenwriters on 1917, which was an excellent film. So who knows? Who knows when we're going to get it?
Did I read that this is a Disney Plus movie, or is this a theatrical movie, or unknown?
I don't know if it's no.
Okay.
Oh, no, they confirmed it'll get a theatrical release.
Oh, great. Okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, look, I am excited for Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I have lots of Star Wars in my plugs today. I love Taika Waititi. I actually just rewatched Jojo Rabbit with my parents the other night.
Oh.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I'm super excited for this, whatever ends up being, if it ends up actually being a thing. Because as we've seen, any film announcements coming out of the Star Wars camp should always be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think I've made this joke before, Marvel is so good at like, they announce it's going to get made, minus one film. Star Wars is a little more hazy, but then you get to the Disney Plus cycle. And I feel like that is just, I feel like they're doing the WB thing where it's, or the DC thing. Like we're going to announce it and we're going to see, and then we're going to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah. And, like,
and it's like, but what about this one? No? Okay.
No. No.
Yeah, I mean, Taika is obviously one of both of our favorite directors and people.
Oh, he's amazing.
And fashion icons.
Oh, he's so good. I mean, the more pineapple shirts we can get, the better.
But yeah, this was our May 4th announcement, and it was very exciting. Did you do anything for May 4th?
I didn't.
It's fine, neither did I.
I had intended to try and finish out the end of the Jedi Fallen Order campaign because I was like on my last boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
I did do that this week, but it did not happen on May 4th. Actually, now that I think about it, the only thing I did on May 4th was watch Star Trek.
Amazing. Good for you. You rebel.
Ever the contrarian. No, I didn't really do anything for it, but I made up for it this week. I read a lot of Star Wars comics, which I'll get to in plugs.
Nice.
So.
I finally started my trek through Clone Wars. I've been very slow. But now
Okay.
I just like sat down. It's been on in the background, and I'm almost done with season 2.
Okay. It's good.
I'm catching up. Yeah, yeah.
It's really
Season
good.
1, I think I just need like a central villain because
Yeah,
like we have like Dooku and Grievous and who's the girl
Asajj Ventress.
Asajj.
Yeah.
But they just appear so infrequently, and just having like those 3 episodes with the bounty hunter at the beginning of season 2, I'm like, oh fuck, like this is a good story. Like I just need like that central character as like an antagonist to wait for.
Yeah, it's something the show does suffer from a little bit of not having like a really good central villain. Yeah, and even then, like as the show progresses, it becomes less and less about the war and kind of becomes a lot about what is happening in the kind of periphery of the universe as a result of the war. So we get a lot of stuff on Mandalore. We get kind of these like one-off little stories in different pockets. And there's kind of a bit of an issue through the series of not having consistent villains, especially because 2 of the 3 villains, live to get to Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
So that kind of also makes it a little bit tough. I thought that's one thing that the first animated Clone Wars, the Tarkovsky one, did really well, is that it put Asajj Ventress like a front and center of that first season as the main antagonist. She's a great character. I've
only seen her, I think, only in 1 episode so far.
And she actually doesn't appear that much in the show. Now, did you watch the movie too?
I did in theaters, and I have no memory of it.
Okay, so there's some good stuff in the movie, and it works if you slot it in where it should fit in the insane watch order of Clone Wars. But okay, so more Disney news because it's us. It looks like as they're getting ready to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean, the current rumor is that Karen Gillan may play the character of Red, who is the new character they introduced onto the ride to replace the bride auction.
Yep.
And she's also a meet and greet character that walks around the park. I know I've seen her before. I'm pretty sure wasn't she walking around when we were in line for Pirates on our marathon day?
She was. I think she is such a fun character to interact with. Because she's like this overly cocky. It's like a character you don't see very much as a female trope. It's like the overly cocky, pilot kind of character.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about her being kind of like, it's weird because these are usually words you would use to describe male characters, but it still applies, but almost like kind of like rakish and a bit of a rogue. And there's kind of like a Han Solo element kind of to her a little bit. Like she's like, just kind of cocky and brash, and I don't know, she'd be really fun. And Karen Gillan's amazing. I love her.
Oh yeah,
and perfect casting choice if they go for it. And it would also be great to see her get to lead a movie. I mean, she's been major supporting character in so many places, but you don't get to see her as the lead a lot, and she absolutely has the chops to do it.
I remember that Comic-Con when they announced her as as Nebula, and she walked on stage and pulled her wig off and showed that like she actually oh man, the fans went wild.
Well, because I mean, she already had such huge fan love from her run on Doctor Who, which I've actually watched those episodes, and she is great in that show.
As Rose, right? Is that her? Or is that the other one? That's the blonde girl.
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm blanking on her character's name. If you hadn't asked me, I would have known it off the top of my head. God damn it. But no, she's fantastic. So I mean, I would totally watch that. I would absolutely watch that. Amy, thank you. My God, it's so embarrassing. No, I'd totally watch that movie. I think it'd be super good.
Okay, and it goes along with our conversation of last week of Pirates would be a great animated series.
It would. See, I think they should do. I'm really surprised they actually haven't done that. Like, I think they'd be a great Disney Plus show. Okay, I have one more little thing that I thought was fun before we get to our big news, which is so ridiculous.
Okay.
But there was a movie announced called Ball and Chain.
Oh, I don't think I saw this one.
So it's going to be starring Jungle Cruise co-stars Emily Blunt and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
I'm already
as a married couple who decide they're going to get a divorce, but then like they basically end up getting superpowers from like a crashed meteorite or something like that, and then they become the superhero team of Ball and Chain. And like already as an idea, it sounds kind of fun, but then the piece of news that was attached to this that made me absolutely 100% on board is it's going to be written by Emily V. Gordon.
Okay, that's the picture I'm seeing. Fuck yes.
So for those of you who don't know who Emily Gordon is, she co-wrote The Big Sick along with her husband and frequent collaborative partner Kumail Nanjiani. In terms of like Hollywood couples out there, they are one of my absolute favorites.
She's also just a sweetheart, as I've mentioned this story many a time. I've talked to her a couple times at the former Nerd Melt because she used to be she used to be the talent booker.
Yeah,
sure.
She's like the producer of their show.
Well, of just Nerd Melt in general.
Yeah,
like she was,
that's right.
Yeah, like she kind of ran the studio, and so she was always there, and we would kind of talk every now and then. She's just such a wonderful person.
No, she is. She's a total sweetheart. Super, super funny. Very, very talented too. And so, a story that like a movie that would normally I'd be like, oh, whatever. But with that cast attachment, especially that screenwriter attachment, I'm like, all right, I'm on board. And then the last thing, which we would be absolutely remiss to not talk about, is the announcement that Tom Cruise is going to film a movie in space.
In space.
Literally in space. NASA is working with him to film a movie aboard the International Space Station. Now, this is not going to be a Mission Impossible movie, which seems like the obvious choice. It's his own thing.
It's know what this is? This is test footage for Fast in Space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it is. It's a precursor. It's going to happen now. And as soon as he does it, everyone's going to want to do it.
Yeah, I have a question for you, since you have kind of the production brain and know the innards of movies better than I do. How do you set up an Apple box in space? Because I don't know how they're going to make Tom Cruise look taller without like something under him. I mean, I guess he can just float a little higher.
I think that's the idea. Yeah, you just have him float and you only put him next to really small instruments.
Yes.
Like no big machinery near him. Keep him away from the solar panels. Like, this is the sort of headline that seems like it should be a joke.
Right. In the midst of all of the Elon Musk stuff, this is the like... Have you read how to pronounce his kid's name?
I don't even know. I haven't looked up to see how it's pronounced, but the memes have been so good.
The memes have been so good. Someone like broke it down, and I don't think this is right, but it makes sense. Like logically it makes sense that you pronounce it Kyle.
Fucking A.
Because it's Christ. I don't remember the middle part, but it's the AE is pronounced like I. And the A-12 is reference to the 12th letter of the alphabet, which is L. And I don't remember what the first letter is, but you pronounce it like K. And so it's Kyle.
God damn it. What happened to you, Elon Musk? Like, at one point, he seemed like the savior of the universe, and now he's just a crackpot.
He's going through his scientific Lindsay Lohan phase.
Ooh, that's true. Yeah. I was going to say he's going full Howard Hughes, but yes, you're right. The Lindsay Lohan metaphor seems far more apt.
The Britney Spears.
Was it Britney 2007? Was that the year when she went real insane?
I think the best meme that I saw come out of this was a GIF of the title was when Elon calls his kid to come home for dinner, and it's a kid jumping off the side of a bridge and turning into a plane and taking off. And I'm like, fuck, he just gave birth to the first Transformer.
Like, I feel kind of bad for this kid because literally upon his birth, he became a worldwide joke.
Do you remember when like Apple was the funny name for a kid?
Yeah. I was like, oh, Gwyneth Paltrow, you loon. Yeah.
Yeah, Moon, Blue Ivy.
What I love
East West.
Is that oh yeah, East West and Northwest. And what I love is that since Gwyneth Paltrow named her kid Apple, not only have celebrity names gotten weirder and more insane, so has Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes. Everything she does is just like, how far can I push this line before people realize that I'm just crazy?
I just love every time I'm like scrolling through entertainment news and I see some blurb like Sebastian Stan tells the story of the third time he introduced himself to Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, but there was someone was joking about Tiger King the other day, and they're like, Tiger King only became popular because everyone was stuck inside. Could you imagine if quarantine started a month earlier when Goop first came out?
Oh God!
And that was the show everyone started talking about.
I mean, so I at the moment I work in kind of unscripted entertainment adjacent stuff, and as a result, like my part of the industry actually has to take Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop seriously, and it kills me every time someone has a legitimate conversation about it.
Oh yeah, I did some of the advertising for Goop.
No, you did?
I did. I learned a lot about the female genitalia anatomy.
I mean, I'm not even sure where to go with that.
It was an experience, that's for sure.
I feel like I have follow-up questions, but it's gonna make neither of us
follow-up answers.
Look good.
That's literally all. Like they sent me a picture of like Gwyneth Paltrow in front of a like illustrated vagina, and like, can you label this? And I'm like, as what?
I mean, for obvious reasons, that's not my area of expertise.
Yep.
So. Why don't we? Should we? I'm sorry, I just can't. All right, I need to compose myself here so we can keep going.
Yes, poor innocent Cameron.
You've broken me here.
I want to sneak in one last bit of news, just because it's important to me and no one else. But Disney has started to announce its openings.
That's right.
Nothing nationally here, but Shanghai is set to begin their phased openings next week. Mm-hmm. And then Disney World is starting its very, very early openings with Disney Springs, their kind of shopping area.
Okay.
Is starting to open first. And there's been conversations about how they're going to handle park admittance for the next couple months. And it's a very weird space. I don't know. So if you haven't read anything about it, they're basically doing like a reservation system just to get in the park.
Interesting.
Which I think is smart, because in my mind is people would be showing up at 2 a.m. and then acting like fucking ravenous zombies, like clawing at the gate trying to get in. Mm-hmm. It's like, we need Mickey. No, I think a reservation system is smart. But yeah, I mean, how do you control that many people in that condensed of a space?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like a reservation system is a good place to start in terms of limiting capacity in the park. Mm-hmm. I think you have to make, at a minimum, masks mandatory.
Oh, absolutely.
And like, I don't know. It's gonna be a total clusterfuck, because you're gonna get people who just want to go back because they miss going to Disneyland and they're fanatics. You're also going to get people who, if they realize that it's going to be a limited capacity situation, they're going to want to go just because there won't be any lines. Mm-hmm. And like, that's how they'll prioritize things. And I mean, the only thing that affects me is I have an annual pass that's on hold right now.
Same.
That I've already like paid for ahead of time. So my whole thing is like, I would be real fucking pissed if they quote unquote reopen the park, but it's at a limited entry capacity, and then they've decided like, oh, now is also when your annual pass window reopens. Yeah,
so that's a conversation that I've had with people, is like, how do you handle blackout days? And how do you handle like the tiered system? Like, do top tiers get first priority of coming in for reservations?
Yeah.
Is it still going to be like, because I'm remembering that the horrible system they had set up for last year when Star Wars Land opened, when it was just top tier passes were clear to go in and everyone else was blacked out.
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance the like your loyal fans who aren't going to spend as much money compared to the people who would be a little more timid to show up but are easier cash grabs?
I have nothing to base this off of other than just pure speculation. I would guess that they will make it so that when they reopen, it's going to be only like day tickets or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's going to be
probably,
local.
you probably won't be, yeah, probably annual passes still will be blacked out.
Yeah.
Or blocked. And then who knows?
Yeah.
Who
And
the fuck
there
knows?
was a note in their public message of like all lines are going to be spaced out 6 feet. And I'm like, that's impossible. Do you know how condensed the Peter Pan queue is?
I know.
Like, you're going to be able to fit 15 families in that line if they're spacing about 6 feet apart.
I know. No, it's gonna be nuts. One of the many things that'll be interesting to see how things reopen when all this is said and done, for however long it's said and done. So, all right, shall we move along here to Static in Africa?
Let's do it.
All right, so
This episode is a masterpiece.
It's fantastic. It's really, really good. I mean, for me, in a lot of ways, it falls in the same category of some of the other like great, let's call them like socially heightened episodes, like episodes that have maybe more something to say than it's just like an entertaining piece of like an episode. Because the villain plot and the final battle are all like just cursory at best, but you don't even think about it because the rest of what's going on is really, really good. But yeah, the general plot here is that Virgil and his dad and his sister head out to Africa and specifically Ghana to go on a trip. And while they're there, they come across an African superhero and a villain who has a plot in place.
Yes, Anansi and Osabo.
Yes, it's really, really good.
Yeah. What was we get some like cool history lessons at the beginning, where like his dad is kind of spurting out Africa facts and Ghana facts. There was a line at the beginning of the episode that just like really hit home, and it makes me kind of wish that we had a guest on for this episode, because it's when Virgil sneaks out of their hotel and starts flying around to Static. He calls Richie, and he says, "When I'm in Africa, I'm not a black kid. I'm just a kid."
I have that quote written down.
This is how you must feel all the time.
Yeah, and even Richie like doesn't
get it.
He doesn't quite get it because that thought has never really crossed his mind.
Yeah.
Before of like, and it's something we've talked about a little bit in different capacities, but it's like you don't realize that you're the societal default until you have a moment when you're not.
Can I ask you an inappropriate question?
I mean, on this podcast, and nothing's inappropriate.
Is this how you felt when
we
you
were
moved to
earlier
West Hollywood?
talking about Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina, so I think everything's on the table at this point. But yeah. What was the question though?
Is this how you felt when you moved to West Hollywood?
Honestly, yes. Like, and so that's the kind of funny thing is, you know, I'm blonde hair, blue eyed white guy, who even now, like, people don't always know I'm gay. Like I find myself like bringing it up in conversation sometimes. Like, so I recently started following, like really switching over to Reddit from like Facebook and other places just to kind of see what's happening and to get some good meme content. As I've been following r/gay. And there's been so many memes out there about like a character, like someone doing something like extraordinarily gay. And it's like, this is me when I'm around girls to show them I'm not a threat. Like, I do that sort of shit all the time. But honestly, like it was like, that's what it did feel like when I finally made it to West Hollywood, because you know I didn't even come out till I was 23, and I, amongst my friends, I'm not now the only like gay one. I have another friend who came out after I did, but for a long time I was, and then I come to West Hollywood, and all of a sudden like now everyone's gay. It's like if you're straight, you almost have to be the person. You have like out yourself as straight if you're in West Hollywood.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and like it's just now I'm used to living in a place where I just kind of run the assumption that probably most of the men I'm going to interact with are in any capacity, just out and about, are also going to be gay. And it has this sense of being very freeing. Like there's no longer kind of an asterisk on your existence because you're in a place where everyone is like you. And it's obviously absolutely not the same as being black in the United States, as we've seen even this week, is a very, very different story.
Yeah.
But that idea did resonate with me a little bit of like going someplace where you feel like you are part of the norm.
Yeah, now imagine if you had a whole country of gay.
Honestly, it wouldn't work.
Well, I mean, for base reasons, it wouldn't work.
It absolutely wouldn't work. I mean, one, yes, you're definitely going to have to deal with your population growth is going to be very, very limited.
But for like 20 years, it's going to be like Mecca.
But the real problem is, like, you would never get a like fully functioning government in place, because you would get some people that would take it like really, really seriously. But like type A gays are their own just special kind of joy. So they would take it way too seriously, and no one else would. Most of the country would be like too busy watching RuPaul. Like every Friday would be a national holiday, like a national holiday, because you have to sit down and watch RuPaul. Like the Pride event would last the entire month of June, which would be absolutely insane. The whole
it's
country.
The same way like Mardi Gras takes over the entire month in New Orleans.
Yeah, like the entire. The thing is that everyone would constantly be shutting down the entire country for some sort of party.
Yeah.
All of June would be shut down for like one massive Pride parade. Every Monday, everyone also have to have off because everyone's going to go out on Sunday for brunch. But even then, Tuesday just becomes the new Monday, and you have the same problem of everyone showing up to work just extraordinarily hungover. It would be an absolute disaster. There'd be so much bitchy drama. Everyone would have slept with everyone. Actually, you know what? I'm kind of down for this. Now that I think about it.
Like I said, 20 years, it'd be a paradise.
I think what we do, let's just, as the gays, we're going to go annex Fire Island and just make our own country.
There you go.
Gaytopia.
No, still call it Fire Island.
Let's look up Fire Island. It'll be Fire Island : Gaytopia.
Yes.
I'm so here for it. But no, that line in particular I thought was really incredible. Like, again, it shows that they chose to utilize their screen time to have moments like that more so than the plot, which is super thin. I mean, it's what, like halfway through the episode before we even come across Osebo and Alansi, right?
Osebo? Yeah, Osebo and Anansi. So the family's in Ghana, and then they're traveling to their next city because they're kind of doing the African tour. They're taking a train.
They're specifically focusing on Ashanti culture while they're out there.
Yes. And kind of the Akan folklore is what this is based on. Mm-hmm. So on the train, they meet a doctor whose name I forgot to write down. Did you get his name?
I have the episode up here. Let me get it real quick.
Because he is named after an Ashanti king, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and so he's got a map to a temple buried at the bottom of a man-made lake, a real lake too.
Yes, and a real dam.
Yes, exactly, which is kind of cool. And so he's just trying to like hold on to these things, and he strikes up a friendship with the Hawkins, and then he's attacked by Osebo, who is Osebo or Osebo?
It's Osebo.
Osebo, thank you.
Yes.
Osebo. A panther man?
He's a leopard.
Leopard man.
Yes.
Thank you. And I love it because Virgil calls him Catman at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He's a leopard man with a metal claw.
Yes.
That was very interesting. It's a weird little element there. But yeah, while they're on the train, Osebo tries to steal the map, but then Anansi the spider jumps in.
Yes, who's basically in this version African Zorro.
Yeah, he definitely has that look of African Zorro. He's got the hat, he's got the mask, and like his powers are kind of interesting. So, because I think you did a little bit of research on kind of the legend of that character and where it comes from, right?
Yeah, so Anansi is like a similar-esque character to Loki. He is the master of illusions. And yeah, in the original story, in the original folklore, Osebo is actually a very minor character. Anansi wanted to hear stories from the sky god Name, who's kind of the seer of all things. If we're continuing the Norse metaphor, he is the Heimdall.
Okay.
I don't know why I chose Norse instead of Greek. Everyone knows a Greek.
I mean, you started out with Loki and you're rolling with it.
I'm rolling with it, yeah. So you have Loki and Heimdall. And in exchange for his stories, Name asks Anansi to capture 3 spirits. So he captures Osabo the leopard, Onini the serpent, and Moboro, who I'm definitely mispronouncing, the hornet, to offer as price for the stories.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
we were going to see those 2 other characters in a future episode too, which is awesome.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
So I can figure out how to accurately pronounce that name.
How to do it properly by the time we get to them.
Yeah, because it's spelled Mmoboro. Mboro.
Mbaro?
Mboro. Yeah.
Mboro?
That sounds close.
I don't know. I'm sure we're way off. But no, like Anansi, he's kind of a fun character, and I was curious if he had any existence in the DCAU or not the DCAU, but like the DC universe at large. And he is a character kind of with the exact same origin, but in the comics, he's actually more of a villain. Like he's kind of listed as having sort of a neutral allegiance, but he usually appears in context as a villain of the Justice League, and apparently he claims to be responsible for the creation of Vixen's totem, which I did not know.
That makes sense, yeah, because in the next episode we see him in, he has a spider totem, which kind of gives him his powers.
Oh, okay.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because here his primary power is illusion. So like he draws this sort of like lighted up web and he lays it across the bottom of the train, and we're like, oh, like did he make the bottom of the train disappear? But it's all an illusion, and that's his whole thing. So he can create multiple versions of himself. He can like project images. That, and he has the ability to like stick to things with his feet, which is how he said like run along the side of the train. And I thought was just a totally goofy, beautiful thing, stick to the bottom of static saucer as they're flying
funny.
around.
I love that shot so much. He's also credited for giving Animal Man his powers. That's cool. I didn't know.
I didn't know. Oh, that's awesome. I love Animal Man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but so obviously they're on a train, so of course the train is going to crash, and then Anansi runs off to go like use the brakes, and then Virgil uses his powers to stop it too. And then we eventually figure out that Osabo, his plan is to destroy the dam that's holding this man-made lake in place, so we can get down to the this palace down at the bottom. So I mean, it's a pretty basic plot. Like there's not
it feels
a lot
very
of
like
background.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it's very minimal. It's almost like a little bit Bondian-esque too, like a really simplified version of like a Bond plot. like there's some MacGuffin you got to go get to this thing, and you got to destroy something to make it happen. It's very minimal. We don't even really get any background on Osabo or even on Anansi, like where they come from, what their powers are.
Yeah, but I kind of like that because it
too.
is Virgil entering into this new world. Like it wouldn't make sense for them to have their origin stories while he's there. Like he's interrupting their storyline.
Exactly. And it would also just slow things down so much. And you don't really need to know. Like at this point now, we're 3 seasons into this show, but we're 10 years into this universe. Like we just accept the fact now that these characters can exist without the need of explaining all their powers. We don't need to know all that sort of stuff. So like these characters exist. We know there are heroes across the entire world. And, we don't need to know all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
There was a line I wanted to hit real quick. When Anansi first announces himself to Virgil, and the doctor kind of gives his backstory. He's the greatest hero of Ghana. He's the master of illusion. He's the spider. Virgil says, "Hit him with a web blast."
Oh yeah, and he does the classic Spider-Man.
Yeah, the hand
finger pattern. Yeah,
and he says, "I am not that kind of spider."
I know. I thought that was a super fun.
Really enjoyed that
to throw in there. But yeah, I mean, like eventually, of course, Anansi and Static team up. They head out to the dam. And, like even that whole sequence is pretty quick. Like one of my favorite parts though is Osabo just like throws like a clump of dynamite, like 4 sticks of dynamite tied together.
Yep.
Like classic cartoon style dynamite. Like 1 stick of dynamite does a lot of damage, but no, this is like a whole clump of it, like you'd use to blast out a fucking tunnel. All come together. He throws it at them. It collapses like a bridge and a bunch of rocks on top of them, and they survive because Static creates a electric shield to repel non-ferrous material.
Yep.
So continue to love that.
I do. I think this is the first time we get it. I love his tank top look.
I do too. Yeah.
It's so sleek and clean and cool. I wanted to look like that.
Shows off those arms.
Yeah.
Stop it. He's 14. Stop it.
There were two moments in that interaction with Sharon. So before when Anansi and Virgil first team up and they take off, Sharon and Pops come in and they're like, Virgil, you won't believe it. We found a burger fool.
Oh my God.
Which I really appreciated. And then my favorite pun of the episode is when Virgil's talking to Richie and he calls his sister Shopazulu.
Oh yeah,
which
that
I
was
think
good.
is just like, that was perfect. Like that is the perfect pun of the episode.
Oh God, it's spot on. It's so good. But even like the kind of climactic fight is over pretty quickly. Like they get out of the rubble, they go and fight Osabo. Static steals the detonator from him almost instantly, and then like Anansi uses an illusion to trick Osabo into like jumping over the edge of the dam, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's done. It's over pretty quick.
Yeah, but I feel like the mystery is so good in this of like them, Static puts a tracker on Osabo so they can find him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then he's got that moment where he has to figure out how to get in contact with Anansi to like let him know, hey, I can help you.
Yes.
Conveniently, he just shows up.
Yes.
Great.
It's easy. When you have this kind of character, it makes writing him super easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other ones that I really liked is when they're going through the dam, going down through the dam to get to Osabo. They see one of the henchmen who I guess just kind of has a smile on his face, and then Ozzy says he's so happy it'd be a shame to disappoint him. Oh no, he hears the laughter of the henchman in the corner next door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's the good hero mentality.
Yeah, we can't disappoint him. We got to go beat the shit out of him instead.
That's all pretty quick. I love their team up fight where they take out all the henchmen really quick, where Static boosts the light bulbs and blinds everyone.
Oh,
and then Anansi comes in and just knocks them out really quick.
So that's the thing is when they use Static's powers in a way that they should work, it's usually
sense.
pretty clever. Yeah, but when it's usually just like a cop-out thing, like, oh, I can create a shield or a knife out of electricity, you're like, nah, that's not how this stuff works.
Or he Static clings a person to a rope.
Oh yeah, something that does not conduct electricity. Love it.
But then the last line of the episode, I think, is probably the most important one. Mm-hmm. Even though it doesn't make sense canonically, we're still going to go with it. No, it doesn't,
but we're going to go with it.
Where Virgil and Anansi are talking right as he's leaving. And Virgil says, it's nice to know that you're out here. I've never had, a black superhero role model to look up to before. And then Anansi reprising, it's like, I'm glad to know I have an American hero I can look up to too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. I mean, it's so genuine.
It is, because.
But what about Jon Stewart?
What about Jon Stewart? Poor Jon Stewart. But one of the things that Virgil even says is, I never knew how important it would be to meet a role model like you, a black superhero.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's definitely a meta commentary on how important Static is as a character. Like he, especially when this came out, like it was a big deal. It was pretty mainstream. Like this is a really popular show, and there hadn't been another show quite like it featuring a character like Static, and he is a role model. And like I think that's part of the reason that he, to this day, still holds such a soft spot in just cultural zeitgeist in general. Is there's still not a lot of black superheroes out there, and even with something like Black Nightwing, there's still all these conversations of, oh, when are we going to see Static show up in that?
Yeah.
People love him as a character because he is so good.
Yeah, and he's relatable.
He is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that he's the most real superhero we've had yet in the entire series. Like, I mean, yeah, Terry's also kind of like a normal guy, and he's in this superpowered suit.
Yeah, but he's in the future. We can't relate to that.
He's in the future, and like he becomes a superhero from like really weird circumstances, and his origin is, we'll get to it eventually, complicated, to say the least. But also like he also doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. Like, where does all of his like martial arts training and acrobatic training come from, sort of thing, where Static's just a normal guy and he really has to rely on his powers, because he's not, the world's best martial artist or the world's best gymnast or something like that. He's not super strong. He's just
and he's like slightly smarter than average.
Yeah, exactly. He's not like, Peter Parker is a genius who invents all of his own stuff. Like, even Richie invents most of Static stuff for him, because he's a smart guy and he's a good student and he's clever, but he's not like unobtainable in so many ways. Like, outside of his powers, he is absolutely just like a normal kid, and that's what makes him so interesting and so relatable.
Yeah.
And he's the only kind of person who in the DCAU has that really grounded perspective to say a lot of things he says in this episode about, feeling like a normal kid when he's in Africa, or to understand the importance of having a role model. Like, that's not something that Batman's going to say, or even like Robin or Nightwing or anyone else is going to do it. Like, he gets to be like the voice of the audience so much more than any other heroes get to do.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is like legitimately one of the best episodes.
And like, I would say even in like all of the DCAU, I think it's one of the best episodes.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Because it actually, it really has something more meaningful to say. I mean, I think even when you look at what is otherwise considered some of the best episodes of DCAU, usually talking about Heart of Ice, or
Over the Edge,
or Mad Love, and those are really good stories.
Yeah, they're good Batman stories.
Yeah, they're good Batman stories. Like, they're compelling stories. They're like, like Heart of Ice is great because it's a super sympathetic take on a villain that was otherwise just kind of almost like a joke in a lot of ways. Same with If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are really good stories that, like comic stories. Like, they have like plot and action and excitement and adventure. And this episode has that, but it has so much more. It has actually something really real to say, and it does it in such an organic way. I mean, we've been talking a lot about very special episodes, because Static has a number of them. And I think that the messaging in this is just as important as, say, the messaging in Jimmy or in Sins of the Fathers, but it comes from a slightly more hopeful perspective. It's not like trying to teach a lesson. It's just more just offering a POV that you don't often get to see. And I think that helps the message land even more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I wouldn't consider this a very special episode. I think it's just a really great episode.
It's just a kind of special episode. It's not a very special episode.
Yeah, it feels like that was part of the intent, was to offer up a little bit of messaging, but to not be maybe as heavy-handed as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And, no, it's excellent. And it just goes to show like that this series just continues to get better and better, in the same way that I would say that like by the time we got to the new Batman Adventures, like the story team on that, the writing team was so
they found their groove.
Yeah, they found their groove. I think the show has really reached its groove by the time we get to season 3, and we're just getting great episode after great episode. It's so good, and it's also worth acknowledging that really excellent guest voice acting in this one too.
Oh, I forgot to even look up who
yeah,
did
so
all the
some
voices.
familiar names. So Anansi is voiced by Carl Lumley, who of course is the voice of Martian Manhunter.
Great.
Yes, and then Osabo is voiced by Michael J. White, who he's a name that pops up a lot in kind of nerdy spaces. He played Spawn in the live-action Spawn movie.
Okay.
But he also, I'm pretty sure he voices Bronze Tiger in the direct-to-DC animated films. And then remember that Mortal Kombat like web series from a few years ago?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He's Black Dynamite.
Oh yeah, and he's Black Dynamite. Yeah. No, he's great. And like, he's an actual like legit martial artist in his own right too. Like,
I just saw his picture. He's ripped.
Yeah. Oh no, he's awesome. So I love that
he's Bronze Tiger in Arrow.
Oh, that's where it is, right? It's in Arrow. I feel like he also did the voice too, maybe. Or maybe I'm making that up.
He's the voice of Black Dynamite in the animated series. He's Tattooed Man in Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, I mean, he pops up in so many places, but no, he's awesome. So just, And I also love that it was Carl Lumley. Like, I will always have a soft spot for him just because of Martian Manhunter. So anywhere else he pops up is great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, either.
One more small like fact is this is slightly based off, or the title is based off of a Shaft film. So the title is based off Shaft in Africa.
Shaft in Africa. I've actually never seen any of the Shaft movies.
I've only seen the most recent one, the one that came out a couple months ago.
I heard it was, I think we talked about it. It was like fun, but kind of dumb, right?
Yeah, it's a very like 90s film.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to go watch, because like there's basically kind of now like a trilogy of Shaft films, like a trilogy of films named Shaft.
Yes.
That are all set in the same continuity, roughly. Because there's the original Shaft with Richard Roundtree, who's like this kind of blaxploitation character who has one of the greatest theme songs of all time by Isaac Hayes.
Oh man, it's so good.
It's just fucking a work of art in its own right. And then there was the 2000 movie with Samuel L. Jackson, who's also named Shaft, but he's the
son.
No, I think he's the nephew.
Oh yeah, sorry, he's the nephew.
The nephew of Richard Roundtree's Shaft. And then there's the new one with Brandon T. Jackson as the son of Samuel L. Jackson's Shaft. That character is also named Shaft, and all three of them appear in that film as Shaft. I need to go watch that. I'm gonna add that to my list.
You should.
I need to go watch the Shaft trilogy at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be on HBO Max when that comes out.
Oh yeah, that's true. So, all right. Well, shall we move along to Shebang here?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I will admit, for me, this episode broke the streak.
Did it? Okay.
I thought it was fine. I like Shebang as a character. I like seeing Static get jealous that another hero shows up.
I love that.
But otherwise, I thought it was only just kind of fine. But the whole story here is that a new character shows up who has superhuman strength and agility. We eventually learn that she calls herself Shebang. But we've eventually found out that she is on the run from some vague government agency who's trying to track her down, because she is actually a genetically engineered human who was then adopted by the scientists who created her to be her daughter, and they are trying to stay out of the way of this vague shadowy agency that's hunting her down. Yeah, interesting character, cool power set. She's got a great theme song.
Oh, amazing! It's so the music in this show is so good.
It is really, really good.
I have a question for you though about your dislike of not dislike your.
I would call it ambivalence towards this episode.
Are you upset because this is the same plot as Zeta?
I honestly didn't even think about that, but yes, you're right. It absolutely is.
Okay, question 2. What would you think if she was just Zeta?
I'd be on board. I love a good shoehorned retcon.
Yeah.
The clunkier, the better. I would have loved it if not in this episode, or maybe even the next time we see her, but in the third episode, we eventually discover that she is in fact a precursor to Zeta, because that would make no sense. It would absolutely come out of nowhere. We've already heard her origin. It would have been just pure retcon for the sake of retcon. And I would have stood up and applauded as I was watching it, like, yes, they've done it. They've achieved perfection.
It has to be the very last scene of the last episode. It's like yes. Static and her high five, her and Richie high five, and they walk off, and she rounds a corner and presses a button on her chest, and it turns into not the Zeta we know, but the first design of Zeta. Oh, the
original Zeta with the weird boomerang head?
Yes.
What I would have loved about that too is if they had done it, they never would have picked it up again. It would have been clearly one of those cliffhanger things, we're totally gonna pick this up and get the story, but it's so stupid and no one wants to see that story, so it's just left hanging. I would have been down for it. Absolutely, 100%. I think my kind of ambivalence for this episode is just that I don't know. I feel like not a lot really happened. It also felt kind of light on plot and action, and I didn't think the character stuff that was going on was necessarily great. And I think had this not followed up the 4 previous episodes, if we're also including Jimmy as the season 2 finale. Like, if we had just come across this, like, I think no matter what followed up, Static in Africa was going to feel like a little bit of a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, I think you'd even said that, like, you really like this episode, so I went in with kind of high expectations, and I was like, oh, no, this is camera level liking. Okay, got it.
I mean, I like it because I think it's a great character origin episode.
It is. It is a good character origin.
Is, as I said before, this is the best Zeta episode we ever got.
Yes, it's absolutely true. Like, I mean, so there are definitely pieces in here that I like. I like that we get to spend a little bit of time in the very beginning of the episode with just Virgil and Richie basically palling out while also being superheroes. Like, there's that really bizarre sequence where this massive gust of wind comes through and starts dragging away giant balloon animals.
Yeah, and we got MUFO.
I wrote that down.
Yep, I'm sure you did.
Because as much as I love a pun, I love a truly awful pun even more.
Yeah.
Like the sort of pun that only the person saying it has any appreciation for, and it just garners nothing but groans and annoyance from everyone around me, as you well know.
As I am the main person that groans and moans and.
So I was all here for MUFO. But then, of course, like, Shebang jumps in to help them, like, wrangle these balloons. And so I actually had a question for you, which is, because you remember the Static canon better than I do. Is this the first hero we come across in Static episodes that's not Virgil or Richie? Like, Rubber Band Man goes from being a villain to a hero, but this is, off the top of my head, the only other time I can think of meeting a character who is already a superhero that's not like a Batman or Superman or something like that, but like an original hero within this universe. I think this is the first one, right?
Well, I mean, there's Shaq.
That doesn't count. Look, Shaq is a hero adored by millions, but he's not a superhero.
Yes, he is. He's 7 foot. That's superhuman.
That's a superpower. I mean,
he's 7 foot and 300 pounds. That's pretty super to me.
That's true. He's the big in the Big Bang.
This is the first hero we meet in this universe.
Like that idea. I like that idea because we've talked about this a little bit, that it does seem a little bit odd that with the Big Bang happening, with us meeting so many other powered individuals who do have their origins also rooted in the Big Bang, that Static is the only hero that comes out of it. Like, no one else decides to go and be a hero too. And maybe that was deliberate avoidance on the part of the writers because they want to focus on Static as a character.
Yeah, and you also have the experience of, like, this happened at a gang fight. Like, if we remember, like, this was the moment when all of the city gangs were coming together to basically claim the territory. And so it is kind of already bad people coming together and bad people getting powers.
I do agree with you, but I also want to point out we've come across so many other characters who just were hit by it on the periphery.
Yep.
Like Ragtag.
Yeah,
who
the
was
homeless
just like
guy.
Homeless guy. And then Madeline, right, was her name? The one who develops like the psychic abilities, who was interviewing homeless people.
There's the dirt underneath the Big Bang.
No, that's right. The dirt and the cockroach.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, it's totally possible there was just like some random dock worker hanging around there who got hit with this stuff too, who then I guess just became like, what, a dock worker with tentacles?
He just became new Aquaman.
That's why we never heard about him, because no one even takes Aquaman seriously, much less like fake Aquaman.
I'm trying to think of, like, what would be the mundane power. Like, he's like scraping algae off the dock, and his power is he just has 2 brooms for hands.
He can control water, but only if it's like the depth of a puddle.
Yeah.
Like anything that's more than like a couple of millimeters thick, and he's like, oh no, this water is too deep, I can't control it.
I can't do it. Yeah. That's the limit.
He has telepathy over cardboard and cardboard alone.
Okay, so we're gonna go through my favorite part of the podcast, and we're going to figure out how would you rewrite this episode to be better.
Okay, I feel like you have an idea in place.
I do.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to contemplate here and see what I might make some changes to. So I'm basically just going to fix whatever you say.
So there is the Teen Titans season 2 premiere. I believe it's season 2 premiere. No, season 3 premiere. Excuse me, season 3.
You know, Cameron, I was about ready to comment on how I love that you have like all this like really deep, specific, esoteric knowledge. Like you can pull out like, oh, in Teen Titans season 3, episode 2. I was literally waiting for you to finish your sentence so I could compliment you on your recollection, but it took you so long to remember which episode that it completely undercut my point.
It does. I apologize. The episode title is one of my favorites.
Are you sure you have the right title?
I do.
Okay.
It is Terra.
Okay, what a fucking shock. Okay, wait, now there's all this build up. I thought you were gonna pull like a relatively underappreciated episode of Teen Titans, like they come across like, you know, some sort of other genetically engineered like hero, and it's like a really good episode, but it doesn't get the sort of same like talk about episodes like Terra. But no, this would be like something like, oh my god, there's this really amazing episode of Batman. It's like season 1, episode 15. Like they brought it back, a new character that no one had seen for a long time, took him seriously. It's called Heart of Ice.
Yep.
Everyone loves it.
So Terra has this amazing intro episode. I'm gonna just brush over your insults.
No, that's the guy at the dock worker with the broom hands. That's his job. He's just gonna brush all that aside.
Yes. That's his power. It's just he has the ability to just like never be insulted. He just brushes it off.
He has literal brush hands, but also the ability to just brush off any insults.
Yes. Him and his rival Cold Shoulder.
I would read a one-off issue of that comic.
Yeah.
The Sweep and Cold Shoulder.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Okay, all right. I will actually let you get to what you want to talk about.
So the origin of the origin episode of Terra is great, because they meet this character who is already living her own story. She's running away from this thing. The team tries to help her, and then they realize that she's actually more powerful than all of them, and was not in trouble. She was luring this giant scorpion into a corner so she could trap it. Mm-hmm. And then you have this rift between Beast Boy and Robin, because Beast Boy wants to invite Terra to the team, but Robin is cynical of it, similar to how Virgil and Richie were with Shebang. And so while Robin just can't get it out of his head of like something is wrong with her, I don't believe that she's on our side, he just goes through every hoop to try and find something wrong.
Okay.
While the rest of the team is kind of embracing her, they're all getting along together. They're having this great time. You kind of have that with your the side when they're all hanging out, like we already had, where it's what's her unmasked name? Shanice.
Shanice.
Yeah. We have Shanice and Daisy and Frida and the gang all hanging out. But I think you need Virgil to already know that that's who she is. It's like maybe the first time going out, she's not wearing a mask. Maybe not. I'll come back to this for a second.
Okay.
But you have all this stuff, and then Virgil finds similar to how Robin found the list of things where like wherever she goes, there's earthquakes and landslides and mudslides and all this stuff. Like she is unstable with her power. Mm-hmm. Virgil finds that where there's like a string of vigilante attacks that all connect to her. And he's like, I knew it. She's not a hero. She messes things up. She does things wrong. And so then it's her trying to prove herself and going past what she normally does. That gets her in trouble. That's what gets her caught. Mm-hmm. And now it's Virgil's fault that she's caught.
Okay, yeah, I like that
so
idea.
So he has
of
extra motive to like, well, fuck, like, no, she was just doing good. I'm the asshole. And then the second part.
God damn.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think. Because I guess one of the things that I like about I like some of the character dynamic stuff in this episode. Like I like that Virgil is just jealous he's just jealous because he's just being petty. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like sharing the spotlight. He, I think we haven't seen it play out yet, and I don't remember if we do, but you do kind of get this feeling like to some degree he even still sort of thinks of Gear as being kind of like a sidekick of sorts.
Oh, I mean, even Gear still kind of treats himself as a sidekick. When Virgil flies off from the reporters, Gear doesn't even try to get an interview. He still acts like his publicist.
Yeah, because
with a great Elvis impersonation.
He does. Because Static was still there first. He's there for a while, doing his own thing. So even when Rubber Band Man decided to be a hero, like he's had the same sort of jealousy thing too. So he likes being in the spotlight. So I like that Shebang she's a good hero in her own right. Like she's doing the right thing. She's going out to help. Like she's actually genuinely skilled and talented. And he just doesn't like the fact he has to share the spotlight. So that when he has his character turn and he feels sympathetic for her and wants to rescue her, it's not necessarily like it's his fault that he got her captured. Although, I mean, I like that idea. That makes that thing a little bit stronger. But I like it's just him realizing that he was just being a bit of a shit. And the right thing to do is just to help. Help. I honestly don't have a good reason why I don't like this. It just feels... It just was a little meh. And I think that's part of the problem of doing any sort of origin is you have to do a lot of backstory, right? So even the idea that she's not a bang baby, she's like genetically engineered, I was like, is that even necessary? In some ways, it definitely makes the universe feel bigger because it's people can have powers outside of just having a big bang happen. They can come from anywhere and have different origins, but it definitely felt a little convenient.
Okay. Here's my pitch. Here's pitch. All right. Pitch 2. What made her we're gonna give her the Captain America origin. What made her was Big Bang V1. And so the company or the lab that she was born in is whatever that guy's name is, I forgot. Abracadabra. Was that guy's lab. And she was the first experiment, and they took her when she was young. And so this past 10 years has been the other scientists trying to recreate the formula, which created Big Bang V2, which is what Virgil was hit with. And so now you have kind of similar to Captain America, Incredible Hulk. It's supposed to be the same thing, but no, number 2 messed up. Where she is the perfect specimen, and so it's his labs trying to kidnap her to bring her back to perfect the formula.
Does that make the world a bit too small, though? If she isn't from Dakota, she comes from another city, and
okay, so she is originally from Dakota.
I think you just don't have to do an origin in the same way they didn't do one in Static in Africa. I get that part of the origin, her origin is also what drives the plot. The fact that she was genetically engineered is why there's someone hunting her, and that gives antagonism to the episode. It's just that we've seen that done so many times, and it wasn't like it was done particularly interesting here either. Mm-hmm. Even once she's captured and she's on that plane, what Static was he supercharge his disc or whatever, that's kind of the new thing he
that was so cool.
That that part was kind of cool. You can kind of put that sequence in there still, okay, maybe she's captured whatever, but it didn't to me, I think what this episode felt like is that it really was missing antagonism, because the sort of story time that we got to explain who Shebang is, where she comes from, why she is who she is, what she's doing, would normally be dedicated to fleshing out a villain. So they just kind of settle for what they normally do, which is to throw in
hot streak.
I love the sequence of the hot streak, mostly because someone finally calls him out for his stupid fucking pants.
Yep. I also love his reasoning for setting the mall on fire. Was he didn't like the movie he went to go see?
Well, specifically, he didn't like it was like Space Battles 9. So clearly a commentary on the fact that people didn't like the Star Wars prequels when they came out.
Yep.
But also just seemed extra fitting now, considering that the worst Star Wars movie ever made, including Solo, is Star Wars Episode 9. So a little after the fact, beautiful commentary there.
Yes.
Like, I mean, they settle for just doing a hot streak thing and then just putting in like a generic government villain. Like the villain's name.
He's literally, as unagent. He's never named.
He's never named. His actual credit in the show is crew cut.
Amazing.
That's his name. And I think that's the part for me that made me just not really care. Was I like
what an actor name too.
Oh, Charlie Rocket?
Crew cut voiced by Charlie Rocket.
Charlie
what
Rocket.
A name.
What else have you been up to, Charlie Rocket? Oh man, he's had a few roles. He was the couple characters. He was Guru in
Never Fear.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Frederick Fournier in
Mean Seasons.
Okay, that's it. Oh, he was Rob in the Legends of the Dark Knight.
Yeah, the one that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mean Seasons is the Calendar Girl episode.
Yes. Don Grasso.
And Beyond and Hooked Up.
And now here he is as crew cut.
Oh, that was the Hooked Up is when what's his face?
Oh, the VR.
Yeah.
When Max gets sucked into the VR thing.
I forgot the villain's name. What's his name?
Shriek? No, Shriek. Spellbinder.
Spellbinder, thank you.
Spellbinder, yeah. Oh, good old man. Charlie Rocket, look at you just
what a
popping
name,
up left
too.
and right. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so, but anyways, what were we crew cut. Like, it's just, the rest of the episode just feels a little bit generic. And I was kind of waiting for something to really make it stand out. And it all just felt like orchestrated as a way to bring in a new character, bring in like a soft form of antagonism, and then also give the character reason to disappear at the end. Like, it wasn't like they were setting her up to be, I mean, she's kind of set up to be the Batgirl of this in some ways.
Oh, definitely.
But the difference there being is that they kept bringing Batgirl back. I mean, to be fair, even in BTOS, she only had 3 episodes, and then she was a full team member by the time we got the new Batman Adventures. But
and Shebang also will have 3 episodes.
Okay, I guess I kind of wanted it to be more like for her to be an actual background recurring character rather than just kind of pop in and pop out. Like, if this character didn't show up again in the future, if this was a one-off episode, like I would totally not include it in a short list. But like, whatever, it doesn't really add anything. But but you said going into this you really like this episode. So what about it like really makes it work for you?
I just really like this character. I think it's unique to have a non-Bang Baby come in.
It's fair
because like the world is so. I mean, this world is so obsessed with that idea, and it makes sense because the whole city changed. Mm-hmm. And then it's cool to see an outsider come in, being like, "Oh, I've been weird my whole life, and now I'm the normal one."
Yeah, I guess that's fair. There's almost a little bit of that same commentary that was in Static in Africa. It's just not stated so explicitly. It's like she finally feels normal in the city because there's people have powers everywhere.
Yeah, other people are crazy. It's every time going to Comic-Con for me.
Yeah. Is that your version? Is that your version of me being in WeHo or of Static being in Africa? It's you at Comic-Con?
I don't know if I'd say Comic-Con or Disneyland.
Comic-Con, Disneyland, a cheerleader convention.
I would never go to a cheerleader convention again. I do miss cheer camps, but I couldn't do that anymore.
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I can see that. I agree with you. She's an interesting character. To me, this episode's very forgettable.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. Oh, the one other note I had here was 2 thumbs down. So when Hot Streak is complaining about the movie, because that's why he torched the theater, as you pointed out, is that he didn't like the movie. He says, "Oh, I would give it 2 thumbs down." And then there's a close up on his hands, and you think, is he gonna like shoot fire out of his thumbs? like, why are we doing why are we really like lingering on this moment of 2 thumbs down, and then he just turns his hands back around and shoots fire like he normally would. It's like, what was the point of this?
To show how
like,
angry he was.
I was totally waiting for him to be like 2 thumbs down, point his thumbs down, and have like massive flame bursts pop out of them and have him propel forward like they were rocket boosters.
That would be
I wanted
awesome.
something ridiculous, and they gave us nothing. Honestly, that's the reason I didn't like the episode. It was that one moment. They set us up for some glory, and they just ditched it entirely.
That's fair. You were upset with this episode because you wanted to torch the theater after watching Star Wars Episode 9.
I legitimately did. I rewatched it recently because my dad hadn't seen it.
I still haven't done a rewatch. I meant to rewatch it on May 4th.
You don't need to.
No, but I want to because we had such a unique viewing experience.
Yeah, it was terrible. I know. But the movie is, if anything, worse on a second viewing because you now know what's going to happen. And so you see all of just like the glaring plot holes and story inconsistencies and stupidity everywhere. Like I saw a great meme, and it was like a 2-panel thing, and it was a couple shots from episode 1. And so it was Anakin showing off C-3PO. It's like, look, Mom, do you like him? He's like, oh yeah, that's amazing, Annie. Okay, cool. I just need to go and make it so that he can't read Sith writing per galactic regulation.
I did see that.
It's like, what the fuck? I mean, like, Cameron, you can go rewatch it. Godspeed to you. But it's even worse the second time around, which I did not think was possible. Did not think it was possible. Yeah, if you discover I burnt down my house, it's because I had to watch it a third time. So, all right. Let's see. The only thing I had was, poor Daisy. That's the other note I had.
Oh, yeah.
Poor Daisy. She now makes a third friend who just has to run off to go be a superhero, and she has no idea why. Poor Daisy.
She has Frida.
Like half the time.
Yeah, they're on a bowling team together, apparently.
Apparently. Maybe this is the reason I don't like this episode. I hate bowling.
You don't like bowling?
I hate bowling.
Interesting.
I haven't bowled in years.
You should go bowling. I love bowling.
I'll pass. I'll hang out at the bar.
Okay. Because I want to go to the one on Hollywood and Highland.
The big one?
I don't think it's a big. It's the one like adjacent to the Dave & Buster's.
Yeah. But Cameron, are you physically able to be that close to a Dave & Buster's and not go?
No, we go
Dave
after.
Buster's? Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yeah,
I want to make sure you were feeling okay.
No, but I've been to that bowling alley once, and it's like a very like upscale. Like you walk in, and it's like all wood finish. You feel like you're walking into like a not a strip club, gentleman's club, like a gentleman, like 1950s gentleman's club.
They treat it like a club.
Yeah.
Like if you go at a certain time, if you like drive down Highland, there's like a line formed outside to like get into the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It's like a club. I'm like, no. It's also the reason I don't go out in Hollywood. There's no bars in Hollywood you can just walk into. You have to like wait in line for all of them. Like, fuckers, I don't wait in line to get into the Abbey, which I also don't really love, but it's the most popular bar.
There's the Tim Burton bar.
Yeah, I mean that. The Tim Burton bar.
Grannies.
There's usually a line for Tramp Grannies actually.
Oh, interesting. I've usually when I go, it's like later, so I feel like it's also in the middle of the week. I'll go on like Thursday. It's
also tiny, so depending on when you go, there's a line there, and I guess there's usually not a line for Scum and Villainy for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But any like normal hotspot in Hollywood, like anytime my friends like, oh, let's go out in Hollywood, I'm like, nah, we're not going out in Hollywood.
No.
As a matter of fact, I'm not going out at all. It's 10 p.m. My contacts are up. I'm going to bed.
Yes.
Anyways, this has nothing to do with anything. Shall we move along here?
Let's do it.
All right. So I got some notes from friends here. So one of them is Ashley Clark wrote in because she had some suggestions for some potential animated properties.
Oh, let's hear
really,
them.
really, really good. So one was Wizard of Oz.
Yes, definitely.
That is a great call. Like,
yeah.
I think you could do a lot of really interesting stuff with that. She even made a comment about it too. Like, there must be some sort of animated Wizard of Oz out there somewhere, but I can't think of one.
I see one in my head, but I don't know if it's real or not.
Yeah, exactly. Like in my mind, it exists, but am I creating that?
There was a TV series in the 90s, in 1990, the Wizard of Oz TV series.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It was on ABC. Oh, and there was a movie, Dorothy of Oz, from 2013.
Did that ever actually get released?
I see a trailer.
I remember because I was in Hall H that year, and it was like the random. Everyone was like, "Why is this movie here of all things?" And part of the reason was it had like Patrick Stewart was on the panel, so it was like a big deal that he was there because he was the voice of somebody in it. But I remember it looked awful, and I remember never hearing anything about it ever again. So I don't know if it even ever got released.
The film premiered at a French film festival. It was released widely in the U.S. 2014.
No.
And it grossed $20 million on a $70 million budget.
Fantastic. I think Wizard of Oz would be interesting if it was more like a kid's cartoon.
Man, what a cast, though. You had Leah Michele, Dan Aykroyd, Jim Belushi, Kelsey Grammer, and Patrick Stewart.
I think
Martin Short.
Oh, God, I love Martin Short. I think maybe that's why they had it in Hall H. Was like they had most of that cast there. Like those are some big names, but otherwise it was fucking awful from what I remember.
Well, did I see it's WB? Who made it?
I'm pretty sure it was WB.
Okay, yeah, I mean, WB does their condensed multiple movie panels.
Yeah. But I think if you were to do a kids show, not in the vein of like the crappy 80s cartoons we were talking about, like all the other stuff that's been made into cartoons, like the Back to the Future cartoon, stuff like that. But if you just did it more in the vein of like I don't know, like a My Life as a Teenage Robot or like a Chalk Zone or one of those, like that era of Nickelodeon of being like it's more just adventures in like this fun heightened world.
Yeah, I was gonna say just even Avatar, just do it in the style of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, I think that could be really good too. It's just like I think that's an interesting world to play in, and I think that's where you go and do stuff, and you make it like bright and colorful. And I think 2D makes a big difference too. I think that's an opportunity where you really have to lean into like the animation style and make it 2D. But that would be good.
Funny you brought up Chalk Zone. The girl that voiced Shebang, whose name I have pulled up here, Rosalind Taylor. She voiced Queen Rapshiva in Chalk Zone, who's one of my favorite side characters.
I remember.
Yeah, she'd had the Rapunzel rap, which gets stuck in my head probably once a week.
Not surprising at all. But as Ashley suggested that, she also made a comment about how if you're ever going to do an adaptation of The Long Halloween, like it should be animated and it should definitely be in like the Tim Sale style, which 100% agree with. I know they're working on a version, but we don't know yet what the animation is going to look like, but hopefully it's along those lines. Yeah. And then the other one she had, which I thought was really interesting, was The Birds.
I've never seen The Birds.
I actually haven't either, which seems like a glaring omission in my Hitchcock knowledge, but her kind of point was that a lot of the effects don't necessarily hold up.
Okay.
And not that things, and she made a comment, like, not that things need to be perfect, but the idea that maybe something animated with the birds would give you like a little bit more verisimilitude and a little bit more consistency in terms of the visuals, and that you could actually probably do something like really creepy and unsettling in animation with the birds and make it a little bit heightened too.
I think Coraline is probably like the scariest animated film we've gotten. And even then, that's not a scary film.
It's creepy and unsettling.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any like horror animated films out, at least in America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think that's a really interesting idea. And I think, Ashley kind of hit on something there that I think the world of Hitchcock actually could be really interesting in animation. Like there is this sort of underlying heightened sense to his worlds a little bit. And I think part of what makes it work is that kind of like some of David Fincher's more recent stuff, like talk about a heightened filmmaker who then starts doing stuff in the normal world, like The Social Network or even The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, you still bring that sort of like background creepiness in there. And I think it'd be interesting to see an animated universe kind of set in a Hitchcockian sort of vibe, or to even see like I don't know, like an animated like anthology series where you take some of his stories and you do them in animation. I think that could be really kind of fun to see.
Definitely.
Yeah. So good ideas. And then Sam Gash of the former guest on the show, and of course of the I Do Remake podcast. Very, very sweet, lovely Sam. He wrote in and suggested Scott Pilgrim, which I'm shocked you
Oh
didn't
my
mention.
God. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Absolutely Scott Pilgrim.
Glaring fucking omission on your part, Cameron.
Okay, so here's my thinking path. Is I think I was like one step from Scott Pilgrim because being the idiot that I am, one of the first movies I thought of was like, oh yeah, we should get an animated Speed Racer. And I'm like, well, fucking duh.
I'm not surprised you had that thought.
And like Steve, usually my thought path is it goes through a Speed Racer to get to Scott Pilgrim. So I think once I had to add that hard stop at Speed, I missed the Scott Pilgrim turn off.
I mean, would you want to see that done as
100%.
like? Would you want to see them do like? What's the writer's name again?
Brian Lee O'Malley.
Yeah, would you want to see an animated series done in like an exact recreation of his animated style?
Absolutely, 100%.
I think that'd be cool. Like, I think one of the fun things about the movie is that it brings so much of that style and personality while also being live action, and that contrast is fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I mean, the movie is made as a live action cartoon, basically.
Yeah,
like Edgar Wright did such a good job recreating like those moments.
I can actually see why your brain connects Speed Racer and Scott Pilgrim, because there's a lot of similarities. Like, they are live action movies that feel like cartoons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're so overly heightened.
Yeah. But yeah, I would be down for that. I'd absolutely be down. Mm-hmm. And then Sam wrote in with his full pitch. We talked about this last week of what would a WALL-E prequel look like.
Yes.
So I'm going to go through this real quick here. So he says, I've given the WALL-E prequel some thought, and here's my pitch. It's a friendship movie between the very first sentient robot and the woman who invents him. The robot can be named Alpha. The world becomes a little more passive as the popularity of these robots skyrockets. The woman herself ends up staying in her chair all day, letting her various robots care for her. But then Alpha drags the woman out of her chair to show her the mess being created just out of her line of sight. So now they have to undo the damage caused by the creation of the robots. The movie will end on a hopeful message, but we'll note it's really a tragedy because we know what the world looks like in WALL-E.
Okay. Yeah, so it reminds me of the first most recent Planet of the Apes films.
Right, yeah. The Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a similarity there a little bit. And
I'm curious, I do like the idea of it's the first robot and its creator, and it follows those two. Mm-hmm. I would really like to see the start of the Axiom in a prequel. Because obviously, the Axiom is the ship that all the humans are on that's been out for, what'd they say, like 600 years or something like that? Yeah. 300 years, 400 years?
700.
Yes, that is right. And so, if we go that far back, I would like, maybe she's part of the first team, and so she has to leave the robot to be the first, the first test human.
I think I like where Sam's going, where I think you need to take it really far away from anything that actually happened in WALL-E. Like, I think it would be like a prequel in the loosest sense possible. And that it would be set
it'd be more
in the
like
same
a spiritual
world.
sequel. It's like a spiritual prequel.
Yeah, because I like, to me, I feel like we don't really necessarily know the start point for the Axiom itself, because like that's kind of more or less covered. It's just like, okay, they went on this cruise ship and they left. But I think would be interesting to see some of the turning points that led humanity to really be heavily reliant upon technology and this sort of like spike in industrialism. Mm-hmm. And like, I mean,
look outside.
Well, that's kind of the thing. It's like, I mean, it goes to show how good WALL-E is, because it's so prescient, because it has even more, like, it's even more topical now. But it's kind of challenging too, because Pixar, at the end of the day, they're always hopeful films.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite tweets, it was from a couple years ago, but it still resonates so well, and it's still so funny. And it was WALL-E came out 10 years and you motherfuckers are still littering. What is wrong with you?
I know. God, it's so true. But no, I like where Sam's going, though. I think it'd be fun to see a story about, like the birth of like AI robotics, but done from the Pixar lens, where at the end of the day, it's like you have like the sort of restraints of it has to still end up being like a hopeful story, more or less, because it's Pixar, and most of the times they're like all precursors of Doom, which at the same point we know it would be, but it'd be interesting to see how someone could make that happen in a more upbeat way.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
Yeah,
good job, Sam.
Well done, Sam. All right. Also, if you love these sort of things, go check out his podcast.
Yes,
this is what he does. It's super fun. I've been on to do Superman and James Bond before, and it's always a pleasure. And Sam's just the best. So go check out the podcast. All right, and then let's kind of wrap things up here with some bat plugs. So Cameron, what have you been doing to fill your COVID hours this week?
Did I plug Hollywood last week?
I think you and I talked about it off air.
Okay.
I mean, actually, no, sorry, we didn't, because we don't talk outside the podcast.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to a wall, and you just talked to your wall.
We talked through a proxy through Shane.
Yes.
We only communicate through Shane outside the podcast.
I guess I'll plug Hollywood, because I just this week I've just been watching Clone Wars.
Okay. Yeah. How is Hollywood? Like I've heard mixed things.
It's good. It's 4 episodes are great. It's 7 episodes.
This is also what I've heard. Yeah, the first 4 are great, and then it really doesn't. In traditional Ryan Murphy fashion, it doesn't stick the landing, maybe?
Because I think it sticks the wrong landing. Like, it's a good ending for a different show.
Okay, interesting.
So the first 4 episodes are like this amazing timepiece of the late 40s, early 50s. Post World War II Hollywood boom. Everyone's coming back from the war, and there's like commercials playing of like, hey, you want to get your life together? Come to Hollywood. You can be an actor.
Yeah.
And so we followed this guy whose acting career doesn't pan out like he planned, and so he starts working at a gas station, which is a cover for a prostitution ring.
Which that was like a real thing.
Oh, was that the real? Okay, that's hilarious.
There's a documentary out there, and I will look it up. But it was an actual thing about a guy who ran a gas station that was like a front for like he was basically running a brothel out of his gas station. Let me see if I can find it.
Like that premise is hilarious, and I love that idea. And it's basically this guy kind of sleeping his way through Hollywood to get himself cast in a film. Like that. Here we go.
I got it. Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood was the documentary. It's a portrait of Scotty Bowers, who ran a gas station, and it was basically a brothel. That's super interesting. That idea seems interesting, and I've heard because Dylan McDermott plays the
he is so charming.
That's what I've heard. I've heard he's great.
Like he
great
is
in the show.
He is a silver fox if there ever was one.
Oh my God, don't I know it?
So like the first 4 episodes kind of focus more on that side of things, and that's great. And then it kind of takes a weird turn that I don't want to get into for people who do want to watch it in the last 3 episodes.
I have heard there is maybe a little bit of revisionist history going on.
100%.
Okay.
So the first 4 are very like 1950s, and then the last 4, it's kind of just the setting of the 50s with current day politics.
Okay, interesting.
So social politics.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to watch it. I will probably watch it at some point. It's got a cast I really, really like. I watched the trailer. It looked super fun.
It is.
I know I say this all the time. I'm just not a fan of Ryan Murphy.
I would say for people who haven't watched it, I would watch The Politician before this. I think The Politician is a better Ryan Murphy show.
Okay.
And it also has Ben Platt, and he sings, and that's all I care about.
That's all you really need to know. Yeah, and it's got Psycho Gwyneth Paltrow in it.
Yeah. This show has Samara Weaving, who is just like
I do
fucking goddess.
I love her. You saw Ready or Not, right?
I did.
Yeah, I know I plugged it at one point within the last few months. It's a really good movie.
It's weird how Samara Weaving is Margot Robbie, but they're not.
Yeah, right? Like, where's the movie where they play sisters? Because I would absolutely watch that, if only because they're both just relentlessly charming and watchable.
Yeah.
I would watch the two of them do anything.
Same. Yeah.
I would watch them paint a fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to the post office.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
I would watch a series, The Mundane Adventures of Margot Robbie and Samara Weaving.
and I'm trying to think, what was that movie franchise from the Ernie goes.
Oh, Ernest, yeah.
Yeah,
With Jim Varney. Yeah.
Yes. I want that series with these two.
100%.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie and Samara Weaving go to jail.
Yep.
Margot Robbie and Samara Weaving Halloween. Watch
Either recreate that franchise or recreate every one of Mary-Kate and Ashley movies.
Ooh, that would be good. Also, wait, what if we just started like replacing old double bills? Like, let's just remake Abbott and Costello movies with Margot Robbie
I'm down.
and Samara Weaving. I'm so on board. All right, like, so would you give, since the idea of now anti-plugs exist, is Hollywood a plug or an anti-plug for you, or is it more just you want to talk about it? And so
I kind of just want to talk about it.
Okay,
I would say it's like for people who enjoy Hollywood, the world of Hollywood and old Hollywood, it's worth a watch. Oh, and I did message you when I finished it. It is the biggest circle jerk you could ever imagine for a Hollywood film.
Well, you had me at circle jerk.
Yeah.
So, all right, I will try and squeeze it in with the next few weeks so we can like do a proper dive on it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, what about you? What are you watching, listening, reading?
I did a lot of comic book catch up this last week.
Oh.
Yeah. So after I finished American Gods, I had to wait for some new books to arrive in the mail. And so I signed up for Marvel Unlimited, and I caught up on a few series. So I caught up on Senna Grace's run on Iceman. So
Iceman, Bobby
yeah.
Drake.
So in the comics, it's a little bit some slight backstory here. So at one point in the comics, the original 5 X-Men got displaced through time and brought into the modern world, and like were forced to face like their modern counterparts. So for like obviously Cyclops, that was a huge difference because at that point Cyclops had kind of become the new Magneto and was a total prick and a half. But for Bobby, the complication is that young Bobby comes out as gay, and he's like, wait, why aren't you, the older version of me, also not gay? And so it was this process of older Bobby eventually having to kind of come out and accept himself. And then this is the comic that plays off of that and now is figuring out like what his life is like. And it's good. Like it reminded me a lot of reading the Miss Marvel series, where there's good comic book storytelling going on. There's lots of fun cameos and good action stuff. But at the end of the day, the most compelling parts is just what makes this character real and relatable. And, what's kind of interesting about this character is this is someone who I think at this point in the comics is supposed to be probably in his like mid 30s, who is only now just coming out. And so it's not like, he's young and coming out with a bunch of other peers his own age and the same sort of stuff. And it's, he feels kind of behind in a lot of ways and trying to figure out how to date and while dealing with the insanities of being a superhero and stuff like that. And it's really good. As someone who came out a little bit later, earlier than some, but later than others, like I definitely found elements of it relatable. But no, like Senna Grace is a great writer and it's a fun series. So yeah, there's like 3 collected volumes all up on Marvel Unlimited, and I would recommend it. They're fun stories.
Okay.
So I read that, and then I also read Charles Soule's run on Vader. So this was recommended to me by my friend Greer. So shout out to you, Greer, who was like, you got to read this stuff. And so I sat down and read it, and I burned through it in a matter of days. Like it's really good. They're quick reads. It's super fun, but because there've been a few Vader comics, and so this one is set immediately after he becomes Vader. So it's kind of fun because he's more or less still Anakin, but he is stuck in the Vader suit. So he's not the intimidating, composed, like relentless Vader that we know. He's struggling.
Is there an issue where he has to learn how to like wipe after using the bathroom?
No, but I wish there was now.
I just want I want to see
that outtake issue.
Yeah, I want like the 2 weeks after he puts the suit on and he has to like completely change how he does his everyday things.
Well, there was also that theory for a long time that there were no bathrooms in Star Wars because we never saw one until we saw the head on the Racer's crest in The Mandalorian on his ship. That was the first time we ever saw a bathroom. And in Star Wars.
It's like, but Master, how do I brush my teeth? Anakin, we've been over this. You don't have any teeth.
You don't have teeth anymore. It's fine. The suit will do it for you. Just injects fluid into your mouth. But the first run is him having to hunt down a Jedi so he can build his lightsaber, and it kind of fleshes out how a red kyber crystal is made, which is a pretty interesting idea.
Is it by bathing in the blood of your enemy?
You're not far off, actually. You're really not. So like that's interesting. There's a whole section of him on Mon Cala. So it actually picks up from some of the threads of there's a number of episodes set in Mon Cala during the Clone Wars, and some of those same characters come back around. That's a little interesting. And then kind of the final arc is him building his palace on Mustafar, and it's kind of he discovers it's a hub of dark side energy, and so there's a Sith architect that he ends up working with to build this structure, and it's really interesting. And it's a good run of comics, and obviously Palpatine's in there and Grand Moff Tarkin's in there, but it does a good job about making him not necessarily sympathetic but flappable in a way we don't normally see Vader.
Okay.
And it's a really good series. So I read that, and I'm now partway through that same writer. He did a mini run on Lando. And so it's just kind of like a one-off mission, but he's on this it's kind of like a one more job situation, but he's off to go steal a really high-end space yacht. And he discovers that it was absolutely the wrong person for him to steal a yacht from. And so then, shenanigans and challenges follow through on that.
Is it Palpatine's vacation yacht?
I won't say. For those who have not yet read it. But they're really, really good.
Sometimes you just have to drop our cloak and just take in the sun.
Yeah, he's got to keep that full body tan going. God, where would Palpatine vacation? Probably somewhere with the blood of his enemies, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, probably Mustafar.
Probably Mustafar. It's a nice spot. It's warm there. It's a good climate.
Yeah. It's a whole planet. You just go to the other side of the planet and tan.
Yeah. So no, they're all fun series. And I guess kind of the broader plug here is just, it's sign up for Marvel Unlimited even for a month. I'll probably pay for it for a month and get caught up on a bunch of Star Wars comics and some Marvel comics I'm meaning to read, and then, probably stop after that. But, it's honestly it's a really good app and interface, and kind of what DC Universe now does for us in terms of catching up on comics. Allows you to just go through and just hit a bunch of stuff in real quick order. So, no, there's some good stuff to check out there. So
that's great.
So do so. But all right, I think we're done.
We did it.
But yeah, if you have thoughts on our episodes this week, maybe you loved episode Shebang and you're with Cameron on this and not with me, and you want to write to me and tell me, Chris, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, or if you want to rewrite Shebang in your own story in a 1, 2, 3, or 4-parter.
That's true. We've never had a 4-parter yet in the DCAU. I think the most we've ever had is 3. So someone write to us with your 4-part. Let's expand this into a full saga.
Yes.
But yeah, you can find us at Timm Talk Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail. Also, would love to know what you guys are keeping up with during this time. What are you reading? What are you watching to help fill your hours?
I've kind of hit my wall.
Yeah, always looking for recommendations. So do let us know. And then you can find me at Lordifer on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes, and you can find my art stuff at Cameron.Dexter, and you can find my face and my now Disney trivia that I'm trying to host every now and then.
Yes.
And I'm posting a couple questions on my stories. You can find that at CamDexter_adventures.
Yeah, Cameron hosted one last weekend. It was so much fun.
Yes.
Very excited for the one this weekend too. It is. I consider myself a pretty knowledgeable person when it comes to pop culture stuff, including Disney and especially Star Wars and Marvel. And this fucker has to come through with a bunch of stuff I don't even know.
Well, this week it'll play more into your field. I'll say that.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Good. I'm also very much looking forward to finding a slight technical error with one of your questions.
I have there
and pulling it. I'm actually on you.
I would love that.
But thanks for listening, everyone. And next week we'll be back with not the DCAU, not our 150th episode, which is just around the corner. We'll be back to discuss Scoob.
Scooby!
It's our first fully dedicated episode to Scooby-Doo. Scoob is coming out on demand, so we'll be covering that next week. Cannot wait for both the movie and for the discussion. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So look out for that next week. But thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe. Bye.
Superheroes, Static Shock. Superheroes take